Hello everybody, Thomas here, and welcome back to SFF180. Thank you so much for joining me. Wow, another year has come and gone. I don't know how it happens. It seems to be a thing that it does, right? Year after year, the years just sort of go by. It's time, maybe? Don't ask me, ask Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson, guys like that. But it does mean that it's time to look ahead to 2016 in the year of SFF publishing. And you know what? It looks like we've got an exciting year ahead. But let's be honest, 2015 was a pretty exciting year too. At the beginning of the year, I did my 15 and 15, most anticipated SFF for the year 2015 video, right? And in the intervening year, it's interesting to see how all of that has panned out, right? I mean, some of the books that I was looking forward to turned out pretty much to live up to expectations. In fact, one of them is the book that I'm willing to call the best novel of 2015. Others, not so much. There's some disappointments in there. But then there were those books that were not announced until much later in the year, so I had no idea about them a full year ago. And they came out late in the year and turned out to be really lovely surprises themselves. And that is inevitably how it's going to be, right? You can never crystal ball this stuff with any degree of accuracy. You just sort of have to take it as it comes. You have all this stuff that you look forward to every year. Some of it really lives up, others don't. And then there are those lovely surprises that kind of come at you from left field. And that's what makes reading so exciting. But I'm not here to talk about 2015 in this video. That I am saving for the Best SFF of 2015 live show that I will be hosting here in about a month's time. January the 16th, that's a Saturday, and it's going to be a full house. So you'll not only see some of the usual suspects who prop up in these BookTube SFF events, Sue, Nicole, Elizabeth, folks like that. I'm also inviting a few folks some smaller channels who don't get invited to do live shows all that often. But I will have more details as we get a little bit closer to the date, but look forward to that. Mark your calendars. The BookTube SFF Best of 2015 live show. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk about our favorites. We'll talk about some of our biggest disappointments. We're bound to disagree on several things. So, expect a great talk. But now it is time to look forward to 2016. And what is the key word that defines SFF publishing in 2016? It is sequels. My God, sequels out the wazoo. Sequels, sequels, sequels. Everybody and his dog, and his dog's cat, and his cat's pet ferret, and the ferret's fleas is putting out whatever volume in the trilogy, or the tetralogy, or the multi-book series, or, however the hell long it lasts, whatever they're in the middle of. The new volume is coming out this year. And, that's fine. Series publishing has always been not just a staple, it's been the backbone of genre publishing, right? Series. We've thrived on them for decades and decades and decades. No reason that should change now. And I'm looking forward to a great many of those books, just like the rest of you. In particular, Scott Lynch's Fourth Gentleman Bastards novel is at long last coming out this year. N.K. Jemison's sequel to the fifth season coming out. Loads of stuff, and I'm very excited for quite a lot of it. That's fine. But the thing is, when I put together my anticipated list at the beginning of each year, what I like to concentrate on is the stuff that is not necessarily surfing this tidal wave of hype coming at you. Like every single thing Brandon Sanderson ever publishes does, right? I'm looking for the standalones, I'm looking for the stuff from new talent, I'm looking for the ideas that seem a bit fresh, seem a bit off the beaten path, not quite formulaic. Something that really captures the imagination that SFF, I think, really should strive for every single time. So without further blather, here is my 16 in 16 list. Beginning on January 19th, a new novel by contemporary fantasist Tim Powers is always exciting news, and we are finally getting a new one in January. This is Medusas Web, and it is a phantasmagoric, thrilling, mind-bending tale of speculative fiction in which one man must uncover occult secrets of 1920s Hollywood to save his family. Tim Powers is probably best known to most of you for writing On Stranger Tides, the book that somehow got morphed into the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I'm sure he enjoyed the check, so that's fine. But Medusas Web comes out January 19th. January 26th sees the release of All the Birds in the Sky. This is the debut novel by Charlie Jane Anders, editor-in-chief of IO9, a highly anticipated release, and it's about two former childhood friends who parted ways under mysterious circumstances during high school. But as adults, one of them, Lawrence, is now an engineering genius. Patricia is a graduate of a hidden academy for the world's magically gifted, and they must come together and pool their considerable talents in order to save the world, as it were. But it's a deeply magical, darkly funny examination of life, love, and the apocalypse, and it comes out from Tor Books on January 26th. You have probably already seen that I have an arc of this if you've been watching Mailbag Monday, and I'll be reading it very soon. March the 1st sees the release of Arkwright. This is the new novel by Alan Steele, who's a bit of a hard SF superstar, and this one seems like a bit of self-aware satire of the whole SF community. It is about an aging, kind of misanthropic, cranky old man science fiction writer named Arkwright, who decides to start his own foundation in the interest of founding a colony on a distant world several light years away, his own space colony. So this could be kind of witty, kind of interesting, good hopefully it's a good hard SF adventure, and it comes out from Tor Books on March the 1st. March the 1st also sees the release of this fairly interesting looking alternate history coming from Angry Robot Books. This is United States of Japan. The author is Peter Tirius, and it's about a world in which the Axis won World War II. And now in the late 1980s, the Japanese Empire rules over the western United States, their power assured by technological superiority, like these big kind of transformer-looking dude you see there on the book cover. But when a video game emerges that posits a world where the Allies won, a game censor and an imperial government agent discover truths about the Empire that make them question their loyalty. So this looks kind of provocative and interesting. United States of Japan lands on March the 1st. Up next, a few years back, Sofia Samatar garnered quite a bit of acclaim and some awards recognition for her novel A Stranger in Olandria. Now, March 15th sees the release of her new book, The Winged Histories. It's about four women, a soldier, scholar, a poet, and a socialite, who are caught up on different sides of a violent rebellion. As war erupts and their families are torn apart, they fear they may disappear into the unwritten pages of history. Using the sword and the pen, the body and the voice, they struggle not just to survive, but to make history. So, looks like another great literary fantasy from Sofia Samatar coming out on March 15th. On April 7th, we get the new novel by Emi Itaranta, and once again, she made a very big splash, pun possibly unavoidable, with her debut novel, Memory of Water, and now her new book, The Weaver, arrives on April 7th. Now, some of you may have seen this book listed on Goodreads already under the title The City of Woven Streets, but I literally today, like this afternoon, just got an email from the Harper Voyager publicist alerting me to the title change. So it is now called The Weaver, and it is about, in the city of woven streets, human life has little value. You practice a craft to keep you alive, or you're an outcast, unwanted and tainted. Ileana is a young weaver in the House of Webs, but secretly knows she doesn't really belong there. She's hiding a shameful birth defect that would, if anyone knew about it, land her in the House of the Tainted, a prison for those whose very existence is considered a curse. Sounds like a little bit of inspiration there from John Wyndham's The Chrysalids, perhaps, but this comes out on the 7th of April, Emi Itaranta's The Weaver. April 26th sees the release of a book that's getting a bit of buzz in advance, some critical acclaim early on. This is called Sleeping Giants. The author is Sylvain Neuvel, and it is described as an inventive debut in the tradition of World War Z and The Martian, and it is about the discovery of giant mysterious artifacts beneath the Earth's surface. And in fact, it all starts when a little girl falls through the Earth, a sinkhole in the Earth, and she lands in the palm of a giant metal hand. 17 years later, the mystery of the bizarre artifact remains unsolved, the object's origins, architects, and purpose unknown. Carbon dating defies belief, military reports are redacted, theories are floated, then rejected. But some can never stop searching for answers. Well, will we find out what those answers are when Sleeping Giants comes out? Maybe so. But like I said, getting a bit of advanced buzz. Kirkus Reviews really liked it a lot, so we will see what we will see. Also on April 26th, and I know I'm cheating a little bit with this one because it isn't a novel, it's a story collection. Novellas, novelettes, short stories from Joe Abercrombie, all set in his first Law universe. This is Sharp Ends on April 26th. One of the stories includes the Tough Times All Over, a very, very popular story, very funny story that appeared in the Rogues anthology. This will be a return to some adult fantasy from Joe Abercrombie after the Shattered Seas trilogy. I know we're all looking forward to the next epic novel from him, but this will at least hopefully sate everybody's appetite until that happens. Next up on May the 10th is one that, to be honest, I can barely contain my fangirling. Guy Gavriel Kay, I believe, is probably one of the greatest living practitioners of literary fantasy, and his new book, Children of Earth and Sky, comes out May the 10th, and this one is set in a world inspired by the conflicts and dramas of Renaissance Europe. That's kind of how Guy Gavriel Kay does it. It's sort of like historical fiction, but with an element of fantasy, and he kind of changes the names to protect the innocent and the guilty alike, as it were. This is a book about a young woman setting out from the small coastal town of Senjan to find vengeance for her lost family. That same spring, from the wealthy city-state of Saressa, famous for its canals and lagoon, come two very different people, a young artist traveling to the dangerous east to paint the Grand Caliph at his request, and possibly to do more, and a fiercely intelligent, angry woman posing as a doctor's wife but sent by Saressa as a spy. Nobody can quite capture the sweep of history in his fiction, in his fantasy fiction, quite like Guy Gavriel Kay, and I am very, very eager to read this on May the 10th. Also on May the 10th, we get the U.S. publication of Central Station. This is the new novel by Lavie Tidhar, who's always a provocative writer. And this one is about a worldwide diaspora, which has left 250,000 people at the foot of a space station. Cultures collide in real life and virtual reality. The city is a weed, its growth left unchecked. Life is cheap, data is cheaper. And rising above all is Central Station, the interplanetary hub between all things, the constantly shifting city of Tel Aviv, a powerful virtual arena, and the space colonies where humanity has gone to escape the ravages of poverty and war. You can always count on some seriously edgy fiction from Lavie Tidhar, and Central Station arrives on May the 10th. On May 17th, Tor releases this pretty interesting looking book. Company Town is a novel by Madeline Ashby. The main character is Hawa, one of the few in her community to forego bioengineered enhancements. She's the last truly organic person left on the rig, but she's an expert in the arts of self-defense, and she's been charged with training the family's youngest, who's been receiving death threats, seemingly from another timeline. Meanwhile, a series of interconnected murders threatens the city's stability. A serial killer, or something much, much worse? So, sounds like some real mean street stuff from Madeline Ashby, coming out May 17th, Company Town from Tor Books. Also from Tor on July 5th, comes what looks to be the beginning of a new series from Mary Robinette Kowal. This is a fantasy series set during World War I. And the main character is Ginger Stuyvesant, an American heiress living in London during World War I. She's engaged to Captain Benjamin Hartshorn, an intelligence officer. Ginger is a medium for the Spirit Corps, a special spiritualist force. Each soldier heading for the front is conditioned to report to the mediums of the Spirit Corps when they die, so the Corps can pass instant information about troop movements to military intelligence. That's a fascinating twist on the whole idea of military fantasy. But this comes out on July 5th from Tor Books, Ghost Talkers by Mary Robinette Kowal. The following week, on July 12th, Tor releases Arabella of Mars. The author is David D. Levine. This one looks like a really exciting, old-fashioned planetary romance, which I certainly have a hankering for, and really love it when it's done well. This is about Arabella Ashby. She's a tomboy who shares her father's deft hand with complex automatons. Being raised on the Martian frontier by her Martian nanny, Arabella is more of a wild child than a proper young lady, something her mother plans to remedy with a move to an exotic world Arabella has never seen, London, England. And we all know what happens when you try to tame a wild child, right? But Arabella of Mars looks like a real fun, and it comes out from Tor on July 12th. All right, for this next one, everybody try hard not to spray your entire computer with your squee. But this is The Last Days of New Paris. It is the new novel by China Mieville. Comes out in August. Precise date not yet locked down. Now this comes hot on the heels of his most recent release, the novella This Census Taker, which, as you know, I have already reviewed here on my channel. But The Last Days of New Paris is an intense and gripping tale set in an alternative universe, June 1940, following Paris's fall to the Germans. Now get this, the Villa of Arabella in Marseille is filled with Trotskyists, anti-fascists, exiled artists, and surrealists. One Arabella dissident decides the best way to fight the Nazis is to construct a surrealist bomb. When the bomb is accidentally detonated, surrealist cataclysm sweeps Paris and transforms it according to a violent, weaponized dream logic. I didn't even have to finish reading that before I was sold, but The Last Days of New Paris coming up in August. Coming up on September the 6th, from Tor Books, Everfair is a novel by Nisi Shawl, and it's described as an alternate history / historical fantasy / steampunk novel set in the Belgian Congo. It's a wonderful neo-Victorian alternate history, it says, and it explores the question of what might have come of Belgium's disastrous colonization of the Congo if the native populations had learned about steam technology a bit earlier. Shaw's speculative masterpiece manages to turn one of the worst human rights disasters on record into a marvelous and exciting exploration of the possibilities inherent in a turn of history. Everfair comes out from Tor Books on September the 6th. Finally, last but by no means least, we get the new novel by Connie Willis on September the 20th. This is called Crosstalk, and you have to sort of dig for some information about this one. But it is about telepathy, according to Connie's own blog, and our overly communicating world. It's about helicopter mothers, social media, Joan of Arc, sugared cereals, Bridie Murphy, online dating, zombie movies, Victorian novels, and those annoying songs you get stuck in your head and can't get rid of. Did you get all of that? Well, here's something a little bit more succinct. Her setup is Bridley Flanagan. Now, that's the heroine, works at a smartphone company. Her on-the-fast-track boyfriend, Trent, has just talked her into the two of them having an EED, a minor surgical procedure that makes it possible for the couple to sense each other's feelings, but only if you're both emotionally committed. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So what I understand is that this is sort of an SF screwball romantic comedy, which sounds like the sort of thing I would avoid, like The Absolute Plague, were it not written by Connie Willis. So it could have a whole lot of wit and a whole lot of terrific observations and insights into people and our relationships in our overly connected, oversharing, always online world. But Crosstalk comes out September the 20th. Whew. There you have it. That's it. 16 books in 2016. 16 out of a great many, but I think these will be ones that I'll be paying very, very close attention to, and I think you ought to be paying close attention to them as well. What are your 16 most anticipated novels for the upcoming year? Let me know in the comments. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching, please hit that like button, share the video far and wide with your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe. That's how SFF180 grows as a channel. And if I don't see you before Christmas, and I probably will, I have a couple of reviews I'm wrapping up. Please have a good, great, safe, wonderful, fun, full of food and drink holiday. And as always, happy reading.